How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Barely There podcast. Happy Thanksgiving to anybody who is celebrating. Obviously, it is Blackout Wednesday, but we are here. I'm not blacking out until 4 a.m., so we are all good to go. I'm totally 100% sober, but it will not last for long as I have my hands stuffed up dead animals' asses. So anyway, this is the Barely There podcast. Be sure to smash that like button and bear the fuck down, Jack Sanborn style, as our boy Lucky Spag says. That's some perfect timing, my guy. Happy Thanksgiving. Be sure to follow the pod at Barely There Pod. Be sure to jump on YouTube so you can join the conversation like our boy Spag right here, and like our boy Alap usually does, but I'm pretty sure he's in India at this point. Lucas, Chicago Bears, another game that felt very, very, very winnable, unfortunately, where we lost 27-24 to the Atlanta Falcons. We are currently sitting at 3-8. Justin Fields is currently being held up by paper mache and masking tape. Luke Getsy is probably my worst enemy in the entire NFL currently, but I'll have some thoughts on that a little bit later. My Chase Claypool hot take completely blew up in my face as Claypool only got two receptions when I predicted him to go off. And yeah, man, everything's going pretty damn awful. So, Lucas, how you feeling about this game? I think the defense showed a little bit of life at some point in this game after that first drive. I think Eberflus might have had a little bit to do with that, but doesn't really matter when we're only putting 24 on the board and still giving up 27 at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hopefully they enjoy their turkey and whatever. We're not going to get into the whole is Thanksgiving food overrated or underrated. I think it's it's fucking Thanksgiving. Just eat the turkey, mash it all up with your mashed potatoes, your stuffing, throw some gravy on it, and just fucking enjoy it. Like,
don't blame people that you can't make moist turkey. Like, if your turkey is dry, it means you suck at cooking. Personally, that's how I feel. That's my turkey hot take.
Well, and the leftover cold turkey is fucking incredible on sandwiches. Like a nice little tomato, mayo, little American cheese, call it a day. But yeah, dude, one thing you missed in that little recap you did there, which I really like because it sucks, dude. And for all the people that love the idea of tanking, the Bears are in line for the 3rd overall pick. So I guess that is a blessing in disguise. But, you know, kind of what we feared the most about running. I mean, we did a full fucking episode about it. Hey, let's start to work out some of those concepts for Justin Fields. Let's get Claypool involved. Let's not run Justin Fields after he went live and said, my legs are heavy. He got 18 fucking carries. He got injured. Luckily, knock on wood, luckily it's a non-throwing shoulder injury. He seems, that's the type of thing that you really don't have to worry about. But, and we'll get into it. Trotting him out there this week probably wouldn't be the smartest idea. But yeah, in that post-game recap, Cordell Patterson broke open a touchdown kick return. If you don't remember, at that point in the game, the Bears were up 10, looked like they were going to have control. Marcus Mariota looked like Marcus Mariota, the one we know and love. Bears were moving the ball. Bears were able to fucking put points on the board. And then Cordell Patterson broke the record for most kick return touchdowns, and it's funny too, because I'm not going to take credit for this, but I saw like a meme or some shit like that, because Devin Hester also broke the record in Atlanta for Atlanta after playing for the Bears, which is wild. But good for Cordell Patterson. The Bears fucking suck. But that's what really cracked it back open and made it seem like, okay, it was more of a game. They were able to keep it a little bit closer there. And then offense started to sputter. We kept grinding our fucking dick in the ground with Justin Fields, even though he didn't look, you could tell his legs were heavy, right? Like, he voiced that. You would assume he was in the training room all fucking week, getting his legs worked out. He's cramping up, right? Like, yeah, Getsy's public enemy number one right now. I think that's kind of what the conclusion of this episode is going to be, and we'll get into it. But that's kind of my whole rant. It's over now, right? Like, the Bears are fucking terrible.
Yeah,
and right now the quarterback's injured, so like the whole plan of let's get chemistry, get some concepts worked out, get the ball out of his hand quicker, help him with some anticipatory throwing, like all that shit to me goes out the window, because you should IR him. That's what you should do if you were smart, or at least sit him through the bye week to make sure he's 100% healthy before he goes out there. But who the fuck knows at this point?
Yeah, it feels like the mythological Band-Aid has been ripped off. You know what I mean? Like, everyone who still had like that tiny sliver of hope that the Bears could either make a run or, take that shot at the wild card in a weak division or whatever. Like, it's done. It's over. Like I hate to be the guy to do that because I'm usually like the glass half full type guy. You know what I mean? I mean, Lucas, you know this. You've been dealing with me long enough. Like I feel like
Yeah.
we both have a little bit sense of that at certain points in seasons. But like you have to be able to accept that like the fat lady singing. You know what I mean? Or the plus size lady is singing. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into what we saw on Sunday, man. You know, I think you bring up an important point about Justin's legs being heavy, and like you said, dude, we did highlight this in an entire hour-long podcast
Talked
last
about
week.
that nauseum, dude.
Exactly, like, and
Nauseum.
it's funny because I had received some like splashback a few weeks ago for like insinuating like, hey, like we know what Justin can do with his legs, like let's see what he can do with his arm, you know, like we know the talent's there. I think when you see a throw like that one to not Darnell Mooney, that's the one that's being used against him, but the David Montgomery throw, I think you see throws like that on the run, not even being able to fucking plant his feet and just drop it in a fucking bucket like that. Like, you know, the talent, the arm talent's there. You know what I mean? So like, I don't understand why we're not trying to utilize that more. Really watching the game on Sunday and watching it the last few weeks, but specifically last week where, you know, those 10-20 yard runs were turning into 5-7 yard runs. You know what I mean? Like it looked like he was laboring a little bit from the fucking jump. You know what I mean? He looked like a guy who's been running the ball a lot, taking a lot of hits. And, you know, even as a running back, even when you're sliding and even when you're conscious of your body, you're still going to end up taking that type of, you know, that you're going to take that slide and that slight hit as a defender's coming down on you, or, you know, defenders are going to get their fucking piece in you at some point when you're running on the sidelines, you know? So I don't know, man. It looked like an offense. It reminded me a lot of like a college quarterback who doesn't have any arm ability, but can run. And
That's
similar to how those
yeah.
teams kind of run those types of like pistol type offenses. That's what it feels like we're running right now. And you know what, dude? If we have like a I can't think of like a Sam Ellinger. You know what I mean? If we have a Sam Ellinger, a quarterback who's probably better of a runner than he is a passer, absolutely, man. Like that's the type of offense you have to run because you're obviously working with somebody that's limited. I don't see Justin Fields as somebody who's limited throwing the football. So it's a little confusing when we run this type of offense, you know, and I think, you know, people get a little upset when you bring up the fact that, you know, Luke Getsy is doing this to, you know, kind of garner attention for a head coaching job, you know, to kind of get to that next step in the NFL. But when you see him basically, you know, putting on a saddle and riding Justin Fields as far as he can fucking take him, you know, every single week on offense, it makes you think, you know, because even the Bills, when they were developing Josh Allen, knew better. You know what I mean? They knew better than to just run Josh Allen 20 times a game. You know, I think
I just don't understand, dude. There were so many that were designed too, bro. It wasn't just like him scrambling around, like you would say probably against Dallas, right? These were designed fucking runs, and to me, like, take the fact that you lined up and went 18 to 20 or well 18 attempts for your quarterback first of all because there were about 12 design runs if I could guesstimate, right? I didn't go back and watch it because it's fucking disgusting, but I would say there were about 12 design runs. Your quarterback says my legs are heavy. You just lost to the Detroit Lions. That was your huge game. Like you win that game and you win this week and now you're actually in the wild card picture, so I could understand you doing that, right? But you're going against a weak passing offense. I just hated it from Getsy, bro. And to me, the most disgusting part of it was the end of the game, right? You have a fucking 3 timeouts or 2 timeouts in like a minute 47 to get down and either kick a field goal to tie and take it to overtime or score a touchdown to win. And the first 2 plays, bro, were a designed outside run and then a designed draw. And the most disgusting part about it, dude, they had to call their first timeout after the first run to keep Justin Fields in the game because that's when he hurt his shoulder. So like, I don't understand. And to me, like, part of me wants to think, why would Getsy be doing that? Because you would think GMs are smart enough to be like, yeah, Justin Fields just bailed you out a million times, right? Like, we know you didn't have the athletes and you were able to, you know, if I put up these points, that's what you're going to go into with a resume, right? If I put up these kind of points against these kind of defenses with no talent, imagine what I can do as a head coach, right? Like that's going to be your selling point. So, but then part of me would think that GMs are smart enough to see through it. I don't fucking know. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know how you run a draw after he clearly got injured the play before and you had to call a timeout to keep him in. makes no fucking sense to me, bro. Like that's malpractice in my eyes. And I don't know, like Eberflus is responsible for it. And Eberflus, we got to bring this up. Eberflus made some comments about essentially if Ryan Poles tells him to hold Justin Fields out and Justin Fields says he can play, there's going to be like an argument. And that's just like a very bad sign, dude, for a guy that we both like. I'm going to just call it like I see it. Like, you should have pulled the plug on that. You should have more of an awareness on what the franchise is looking for, where you're at in a position. Like, I get it, you're a head coach, you want to win, but you should have known, like, you're the head coach. You should know how much Justin's in the training room. You would assume, now this is an assumption, but you would assume if his legs were heavy, he was getting fucking massaged out all the time, getting whatever, IVs for cramping. Like, you should have a pulse on that and tone down the running, especially against a shitty fucking passing offense. So, like, Getsy's a shitbag, but, like, Flus isn't off the hook for this at all. I mean, he seems like he's just too fucking stubborn in terms of, like, the toughness mentality. And that's something we really liked about him because our team lacked toughness in the Matt Nagy era. But at some point, you got to have a fucking balance, right? And maybe it's gamesmanship. Maybe they do sit him. But I don't know, man. It's fucking bothers me.
Well, dude, at the end of the day, man, if a line cook in a kitchen sends out a raw chicken breast, it's gonna fall on the head cook. Like it's gonna fall on the head chef. And Eberflus is the head chef, man. Like we can sit here and complain about a guy like Luke Getsy, and I do think it's important to bring it up once again that we are like Matt Eberflus guys. Like we are big, like we fucking have done like the meme of Eberfuel. You know what I mean? Like we've driven that shit into the ground. But like at the same time, like it feels like he's having. I'm hoping it's gamemanship. I'm hoping he's maybe making these comments to be like, kind of tell his team like, hey, I got your back. If you guys want to play, we're not going to let the front office kind of dictate what's going on in the locker room type thing. I'm hoping that's what it is. But it's really sounding like a guy like Matt Eberflus, who's maybe not quite understanding what you have in a guy like Justin Fields and how important he is to the long-term fucking health of the franchise right now. I think it's something that's a fallacy in defensive coordinators in general, and really any defensive head coach is I think sometimes they get a little blown off by the quarterback. Maybe they don't realize like how important, how like an insanely talented quarterback is, and they kind of hit that point where they're like, well, I can win with a Kyle Orton in a good run game. You know what I mean? Compared to going a little bit more on the upside with another guy. You know what I mean? So like, I think that hopefully isn't playing into it, but it's something I see with a lot of defensive head coaches who have problems with quarterbacks, man. They think they can win with anybody if they have a strong enough defense. They think that if they have enough talent on offense and they can run the football, that they can win with anybody. And I hope that's not where Matt Eberflus is right now. And I hope that's why he's not. I hope that's why he's not trying to push a guy like Justin Fields to play. I don't know, man. It's a confusing situation. I was a little thrown off by the comments today. I think that's a situation where I'm honestly surprised they had Justin on the podium, because it's been pretty Bears that if your starting quarterback's injured, they usually don't talk to the media. That's kind of been a thing with us for the last as long as I can remember, really.
Peace thing for the most part.
Yeah, so like I thought it was a little confusing sending him out there, and I thought it was a little confusing not really kind of just being like, hey, listen, Justin's a long-term quarterback here. Like this is a piece we need to take care of. Like if he can play, absolutely. If he wants to play, we're going to discuss it. But at the end of the day, it's a decision that I have to make. You know what I mean? That's more of a comment that I feel like I would have rather heard.
Yeah, it's a different phrasing, right? Like it's just it makes you wonder if everything is kosher with Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, because like, hey, we know it too. The second Robert Quinn left the defense is really when the Bears defense started to get exposed. And we've talked about why, right? There was no one to game plan for, no one that you had to account for on the front four that is going to make you adjust your game plan in any way. So you're just running your strengths and trying to get to the second level, which they were able to do. It makes you wonder, man, because the defense was pretty fucking good the first 4 or 5 games, right? Like it was, and then it turned into instantly like you cannot stop a motherfucking nosebleed. And it was right as the offense started becoming good, right as the offense started to find its groove, and it makes you wonder, right? Like like I said, like that's a huge shot to the locker room. You trade Robert Quinn right after fucking you destroy the New England Patriots. Like beat the shit out of them. Best game I've seen, best Bears game I've seen really since the Dallas Cowboys 2019 game. And then before that, the Tampa Bay 2018 game, right? Like that was the kind of feeling you had after that. And then you get rid of one of your captains. And then the next week, the defense is a shell of itself. And then you get rid of your other captain. And it's like, maybe Flus is thinking like, hey man, we could have made a little bit of fucking noise this year. And you kind of fucking robbed me, right? Like it makes you wonder if everything is kosher with them. And I'm not like saying that they fucking hate each other, but it makes you think.
Well, dude, and we talked about it before the show, and I'll go full blown fucking tinfoil hat if that's what we're gonna do. But like, I don't think it's crazy at all to think that trading a guy like even Roquan Smith, which is like the banned word in the Bears fan base right now, but like I think I wouldn't be surprised if making that trade that could have been an Eberflus thing where it's like, holy fuck, like you just traded my best defensive player. Like like I wouldn't be surprised if part of Flus coming here to take this fucking job was with the idea where it's like, man, I can't wait to get my hands on a guy like Roquan Smith. I just see what he does. You know what I mean? So like I Robert Quinn, definitely I feel like that's a good point. But I think coming into this roster, you kind of knew, okay, Quinn's probably not long for this team. You know, even a Khalil Mack, I feel like that was kind of something you had an understanding of. But like I think you look at a guy like Roquan Smith getting traded when he gets traded, and that it could feel like if you're Eberflus, like, man, you're taking away all my pieces before I can really do anything with him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we just had that rough game against Dallas, but before that, like the defense, like you said, Lucas, is starting to kind of roll a little bit. And then that gets taken away.
They were really good. I want to say through the first 5 games of the year, because you think about it, they got thumped a little bit by Green Bay, but game 1, they only let up like 10 points. They only let up, I want to say 18 or 20 or something like that to the Texans. The Redskins only 14. Oh, I'm sorry. The Commanders only 14. Pause. I'm sorry, guys. And then yeah, I think it was just the Packers really that put points on them. So through like the first 4 or 5 weeks, they actually had a really efficient defense. And they kind of fell apart, you know, and I'm telling you, dude, it's the first peg was Robert Quinn. I'm 100% convinced. Everyone wants to say like, oh, he's only got one fucking tackle or whatever in Philadelphia. He's being used as a rotational piece. He's getting acclimated. Like, I'm sure he's going to get some sacks and big moments for that team. But it's just, dude, there was no other actual threat on the defensive line. So as soon as you took that away, it's like, let's just run whatever we're very good at, and we're going to execute that. And it was just like everything built off of that. And it was a fucking snowfall. And to be honest, the defense looked better this week. And I think that's because Matt Eberflus came in, and who knows, maybe they're going to reevaluate with Alan Williams at the end of it. I almost called him Dennis Allen again. But maybe they're going to reevaluate with him at the end of the year, because like you could tell they were more ready for shit, right? It wasn't that just completely getting dominated. You saw guys making plays on the ball right away. Justin Jones, it seemed like there was just a better game plan in general that were able to make some of these guys like highlight some of their skill. So I don't know, man. Just to close out the polls thing, though, I'm not going to go that far, but I just think it's interesting. It's an interesting way to phrase that, especially after kind of what we've seen, right? Like the Bears at a time were, you know, a few games out of 500 and could have made a run with a schedule that was lightening up. Like you have Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith for these next 2 games. Now they're 5-4, or what are they? 5-5, whatever at the end of it. And you're in the wild card hunt, right? So I just think maybe he's getting a little bit frustrated that he got kind of the rug pulled out from under him, because maybe it was like, okay, we're going to have this flurry of moves at the beginning of the year, but like, maybe he didn't expect that or anticipate that, right? Because this is his staple. This is his first head coaching job. And I don't know. Maybe he's just a little frustrated. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, and he could have been caught sideways with that question a little bit. And, you know, it could be a situation of him starting to kind of realize how hot the fire is with the Chicago media. Because I feel like it's something that like every head coach kind of has to learn. You know, we can only warn them so much before they finally just kind of see it. And, you know, I think that was kind of the problem when we had Nags, was that first year was such a fucking honeymoon that once he finally started getting his ass fucking ripped to the fire, he didn't know what to do with himself. Whereas more Eberflus, he's gotten it a little bit moving forward, but I think this might be the worst that he's going to start getting it moving forward if we continue to lose. And that could bring out a little bit of frustration that he might have with Ryan Poles. Maybe this is less of a Justin Fields thing and it is more of a Ryan Poles thing. Like I said, I don't want to go too far down that road and wear the tinfoil hat completely, but maybe there is something to that, because I feel like some of the moves, it might not be indicative of what Eberflus like kind of foresaw with this roster. But I do like the Alan Williams point though, because I kind of made a point of it. I actually recorded a little video on Twitter before the game started where I was like, hey, if this defense looks a little bit different today, I would assume Matt Eberflus was a little bit more involved in the defensive room every week, because if I'm going to give Eberflus credit, I'm starting to kind of respect his football knowledge. Maybe not his, decisions when in regards to playing Justin Fields or how he's being used, but I mean, his knowledge to be able to jump on both sides of the ball for a week or something like that, and then kind of start to really get results on either side of the ball. I think it's a good sign.
Well,
It's not
about it too, right? Like, and it is a good sign. Sorry to cut you off, but he's been transparent about it. Like he said during the pseudo bye, like I'm going to be spending more time with the offense, and then he said before last week, like, yeah, we're gonna try to fix this defense, right? So, I mean, it's pretty clear, and it's like right when he went more focused on the offense, the defense started suffering. Right when he, switched back, the offense didn't look as good this week. So it's just kind of.
Well, that's something you see with the great coaches, man. That obviously you're gonna have your coaches like Andy Reid, who will never be in a defensive room. But in all honesty, a guy like, and I hate bringing him up because it always feels like a direct comparison, but like even a guy like Belichick, like he's a guy who has no problem going in any fucking room in the building and being like, all right, well, I'm going to focus on what the hell you guys are talking about because something ain't working. You know what I mean? And it feels like that's more what Eberflus is doing, more than just directly going into an offensive or defensive room, say a la Matt Nagy, and just being like, all right, no, this is what we're doing this week. It feels like he's probably jumping into those meetings, jumping into those rooms, and kind of just like, is what I'm trying to preach with this team actually being fucking preached? You know what I mean? Like, are the points that I try to bring into this team, that I kind of tried to build into this team throughout all mini camp, training camp, all that, is this actually being brought up in these fucking meetings? I think it's a good sign. I think, if we're going to talk negative with Matt Eberflus, which obviously the Justin Fields situation is kind of negative right now until we see more on it. I do think we owe it that when he decided he's going to go in that offensive room, and he started out the year saying, like, I'm going to let my coaches do their job. I'm going to try to stay out of it. I'm going to try to focus on game day situations, and I'm going to try to just focus on keeping this team, keeping the culture together. It seems like when he says he's going to go into an offensive room, you immediately get results. When he goes into a defensive room, even us giving up 27 points, if you watch the game, like you could see that the defense was very much a lot more ready to play. It was a far better performance in really every aspect. I mean, we got kind of hosed on a couple penalty calls, but I don't want to go there. But that's a good sign. Like, that is a good long-term sign. Like, if you want to find a positive out of this past week, that's going to be the one to find, because we've seen too many examples where our head coach is either so poignant on one side of the football, is a control freak, or just flat out does not have control of his coaching staff. And it feels like, at the very least, Eberflus has a pretty good stronghold on A, his team, and B, his coaching staff. So it seems like a guy that can stick with the culture through a bad year, you know what I mean, and have these guys still ready to go next year. But he also seems like a guy who might not totally understand that we are 3-8, and maybe, while you don't want to fucking accept losses, you need to be able to fucking kind of tone it back a little bit when it regards against like Justin Fields. But
well, with Simeon, it's going to be fucking terrible because Fields masks so many issues with the offensive line, which is why I should be less hard on him with some of the other stuff, because it's like asking him to do a lot, right, with the state of the offensive line, because the straight drop back passing game, like, you're not seeing a ton of clean pockets anymore, especially since Schofield's been entered into the mix. That's been fucking rough. Lucas Patrick's out for the year, right? I guess, and if we're going to close out the Falcons point, I actually just lost what I was thinking. The Falcons, that game was
it's a holiday. Cut us a little bit of slack.
No, I was going to close out the Falcons with something, but either way, I guess what I was going to ask you is, what do you think the Bears should do with Justin Fields?
Me personally, I'm worried about his shoulder, and I've had discussions with people about this. You know, they immediately are jumping on. Well, it's like it's his non-throwing shoulder. You know, that's not going to affect him nearly as much. I feel like people lose sight of how much a throwing motion is affected by your opposite arm. I think a guy like Kurt Warner, I can't find the exact clip, but I thought he nailed it a couple years ago when he talked about injuries to your non-throwing arm and how much it can affect your day-to-day fucking abilities at quarterback. Cause I know he's somebody who had to deal with it quite a bit throughout the course of his career. And it kind of, I'm pretty sure that's kind of what happened with the downfall of him in his Rams career and what kind of hurt him with the Giants career is because I believe he had a fucking pretty bum shoulder on his opposite throwing arm and it threw off a lot of his throwing motion. So it's something to be worried about. You know, you don't want your young quarterback to be taking these types of injuries, especially early on in this career, you know. I don't like saying that we should shut him down for the year. You know, I guess I have a hard time with that a little bit. I understand why people want to do that. I think we should probably do it more on a week-to-week basis. Personally, I don't think he needs to start against the Jets. I don't think there's anything he has to prove in that. I think it's a situation where you go to Justin and be like, listen, we're going to listen to how you feel about your body. You know what I mean? Like we know you want to play, but we need you to be 90, like not even 100%. We'll give you 95%. If you can't give us 95%, we don't want you on the field. Like it's that simple. You know what I mean? Like we want you involved. And I think this is where you have to, as Ryan Poles even, commit to Justin as your quarterback moving forward. You know what I mean? Because like no matter what was said in the preseason, no matter what was said throughout the entire course of like the last fucking month, no matter what was said through any of that, there was kind of that hovering, lingering feeling like, are the Bears really sold in on Justin Fields? You know what I mean? Lucas, you know what I'm talking about? Like it.
Oh yeah,
it was something that was. It was kind of the elephant in the room, you know what I mean? Like obviously we all love Justin Fields. We all kind of thought like, yeah, he'll prove it. But like there was always that thought like, is Justin the guy? And like that has to get cleared up. You know what I mean? Like I think that's a situation that if you clear that up with Justin, he's a lot more willing to tell you, yeah, I'm not 100%. I don't know if I can roll this week, or I don't know if I can roll for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? Like maybe this is a better situation to shut somebody down. But if Poles or Eberflus still kind of have that idea of whether or not Justin is the guy, which I can't imagine why they would at this point, then yeah, I could see Justin a little bit more willing to want to play through that because he wants to still prove that he's that guy. So I don't know. I think if it were up to me, if I was the GM, I'd go tell Justin, listen, you're our long-term future. You're a guy moving forward. We're not looking at any other quarterbacks. We're in a 3-8 season. I don't want you to ever say that you're admitting defeat, but we're going to think of the long term here and we're going to shut you down. It's similar to an MLB team that got the first overall pick that was a pitcher, you know, and they're shit. Their team is terrible. Like think like Washington Nationals for any baseball people. Think Washington Nationals when they drafted Steven Strasburg. And they were terrible in the first 2 seasons. And you hit a point where you got to go to Strasburg and be like, listen, we're not going to pitch you 200 fucking innings this year because there's absolutely no point. You know, and Strasburg, sure, he'll probably want to pitch those innings. And, you know, that's the competitive spirit and you love to see that. But it's like, no, dude, you are our future. You are our best chance at being the number one fucking starter. You're the best chance of getting us to a World Series at a certain point. We're going to shut you down. That's going to be the end of it. We still believe in you long term. You're going to be on this team for a long time. That's the type of approach that I would take. I would go to Justin and be like, you're our guy. Let's shut her down.
Yeah, I think they know he's the guy. Because I mean, you'd get a lot of draft capital for him, right? It's not like a Josh Rosen situation where you're hoping to flip him for a 3 because no one saw or people didn't get to see enough of him. Like, I think they know he's the guy, or he's at least starting caliber quarterback in this league with high superstar end potential, right? So if they don't know he's the guy, if they don't know that he's the guy, they got big fucking problems. Like bigger problems than knowing whether or not to shut him down. My personal opinion is you fucking IR him. Exactly. Yes. Pretty sure the Bears are in a tank. Pull Fields until he's 100% healthy, get a better draft pick, stick with the plan. And I think this is where Ryan Poles, even as someone that I don't like the idea of asserting your dominance, because I'm not a huge fan of Ryan Poles, like you need to be 100% the decision maker because you have a very competitive coach. And you got a very competitive player that didn't even fucking blink, dude. And it's not like people forget too, like, yeah, it's a non-throwing shoulder, but like with Kurt Warner, or even look at Anthony Miller, dude, right? Like Anthony Miller, that this is the type of injury that gets re-injured regularly. Like this would happen to Anthony Miller like once or twice a year, and he would be put on the sidelines for a few weeks. Like you don't want it to be something where now even surgery is not going to help this injury. Like let him get to 100%, and I think that's why IR is the best course, because even if you say he's healthy and he's got that David Montgomery blood or that Derrick Henry blood where it's like he just gets healthy faster than most people, like Adrian Peterson, right? Even if he's got that, you cannot bring him back for 4 weeks and you have a bye week in between there. So it's like you're almost doing damage control where like if you keep him week to week, like, whatever. I get it. You want to have him for the Packers game. That's always a huge game. But I just think it's not worth risking even a little fucking bit. I think it's kind of crazy to even have the thought of putting him on the field next week, unless it's something that's like extremely minor and we don't know, right? Like if it's a grade 1, I don't know the details. I'm hearing shit all over. He even said himself there's some tears in there. So I've had a fucking separated shoulder. It's not like a no issue injury, right? It's not like you just barely rolled your ankle or had like a lower ankle sprain. It's like a legit injury. So I don't know. I just think it would be moronic to bring him back before he's 100%, bro. Like he should be 100% and then wait a week and then play. That's my personal opinion. We'll see, right? And I think Poles has to be the one to determine that. And Poles and the doctors. It shouldn't be left in the hands of Justin Fields or Matt Eberflus because, dude, Justin Fields is a fucking dog. Like he's gonna try to be out there, right? Like we even heard, and we should talk about it now that it's kind of a perfect segue to the Jets game, but polar opposites with Justin Fields. Justin went in and apologized to the defense and said, I had a chance to win the game and I didn't do it. And Zach Wilson, of course, this week was asked while he had put up 3 points and played pretty fucking awfully. Do you feel bad or something about like, are you sorry about, did you say you're sorry to the defense or do you feel like you let him down? And he was just like, no. So, polar opposites. Kudos to Justin Fields because he's a fucking warrior, dude. There's no other way to describe him. We saw some of those hits he took in college in the playoffs. Like, dude is tough as fucking nails. And even that video that came out with him and his dad when he was in high school, kind of just like you could tell, like he's just sound. He's just a strong-minded kid. And I'm glad. I was worried about that before with the lack of success he was having at the beginning of the season, but overall, yeah, just shut him down for a little bit, man. Don't risk him like completely tearing something that needs now 8 weeks to fucking recover. And when he should be throwing the ball in Florida with Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, he's fucking going through rehab. Like, let's be smart here, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to force him on the field. I don't think he has much he has to prove at this stage. I think you nailed it, Lucas.
You fucked up his chance to develop his other parts of his game by doing this, by having this game this week. You fucked it up already, so don't fucking compound that mistake. You fucked up. Admit your mistake and be done.
And that's the thing. Like, if you were to play him moving forward, you cannot play him with the same game plan you've been running it with. I mean, and I think you nailed on a good point. Justin is that tough fucking level guy. I mean, he grew up in a military family. I'm not saying that's everything, but I'm saying that plays a big part when you see some of these guys in the league. A guy like Shaquille O'Neal, he was a guy who grew up with a military fucking family. I think there's something to be said about guys who kind of get a little bit more of that direction and understand respect and understand what like actual toughness is instead of just kind of barking, because Justin's not a big talker. You know what I mean? Justin's not a guy who's out there talking shit. He's not posting on Twitter or Instagram about how great he is. He's not fucking showing off after victories or anything like that. Like, he's a guy who does his talking with his play and his toughness. And that's something that just breeds so fucking well in Chicago. But yeah, no, I think you make a good point about where we can get into this Jets game, because you kind of see a little bit of that polar opposite in a guy like Zach Wilson. it's man, it's unfortunate to see something like it like this early on in a guy's career kind of going as wrong as it is. And I think a lot of people's eyes kind of pop when you look at a quarterback who's 5-2 getting benched. In case anybody didn't know, Zach Wilson got benched for what was it? Mike
White.
Mike White. Yeah. Mike White. That fucking guy.
He scares me a lot more than Zach Wilson at this point.
Dude, he has to. We've seen what Mike White can do. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy who can come in fresh. He's a guy that Robert Saleh did give a lot of credit. He's a guy who jumped Joe Flacco within the past few weeks from that third to second string spot. So he's obviously a guy who's been kind of ramping up. You know what I mean? This isn't going to be a situation where guys coming in cold off the bench. If they would have made the move to Flacco, it would have felt a little bit more like a lesson to Zach Wilson more than anything. But Mike White coming in,
he's got moxie. Yeah.
Mike White's coming in as a guy who never wants to give that spot up. You know what I mean? Like, Robert Saleh, I feel like did a good job saying all the right things. Like, yeah, we might see Zach at another point in the season or something like that or anything like that. But I was actually listening to, man, I can't believe I'm about to give this guy credit, but I was actually listening to Jim Rome today on the way home from work. It's the CBS fucking sports radio guy that's on my drive home.
Unbelievable.
He's a complete and utter jagoff, but every once in a while he'll nail a point, and he nailed this one. And it's like, if you're Robert Saleh, would you rather lose your locker room heading towards a potential playoff run, or would you rather upset your fucking second year quarterback?
No, yeah,
it's a no-brainer when you put it that way. It would be one thing, just kind of looking at the Jets situation as a whole. It'd be one thing if they bench Zach Wilson, in like a down year. That'd probably look really fucking bad, honestly, because I think if you are having a bad year with the Jets, you're rolling with Zach Wilson regardless, just to see what you have in him. You know what I mean? But I think benching him in this situation kind of really sends a message to him like, hey, listen, if you're not going to help us win, like, we're not going to spend this time to fucking develop you completely. Like, your development cycle needs to kind of rush along a little bit. Maybe that sounds shady. Maybe that sounds shitty, but like, when you compile how Zach has played, you compile how the comments he made this past week, that kind of shows the disconnect within the locker room for him to say something like that in a press conference, and I think that's something that's really important when you're kind of the face of the franchise in a sense, when you're playing quarterback. I think it was a no-brainer. I think Rob Saleh made the right move. It sucks for us because, of course, now we have to face a Mike White who has kind of been earning his way onto the practice field, now earning his way onto the field. And he has weapons. That's one thing that I don't think is being talked about enough. And I think it's a big reason why Zach Wilson got benched is because, like, dude, you have Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, CJ Uzomah, Tyler Coughlin. Like, there are weapons. Denzel Mims even. You know what I mean?
Baby.
There's weapons, man. And you got Michael Carter, James Robinson, Ty Johnson. That's a nice backfield to work with, too.
And they had Breece Hall before, and that's kind of what, after he went down, that was when their offense started sputtering. They're talented on both sides of the ball. Like, they are very talented. And luckily for the Jets, right, like, it's not as much of a Trey Lance situation where you traded up to get it. You just wasted one pick. So, hey, if you guys got to figure it out and steer the ship with a veteran down the line or something like that. You have someone come over, I don't know, trade for someone, whatever it might be, right? There's not a ton of appealing veterans right now. Even someone like a Mitch, right? Someone like that's a priority backup, or if Seattle doesn't want to give Geno Smith the money that he wants, maybe he goes over, something like that, right? But
could you imagine? I'm sorry, I'll let you continue your point. Could you imagine Geno Smith going back to the Jets?
Oh,
pandemonium.
I didn't even think about that, but I mean, either way, like, I just think overall, they have a very good team, and like, I'm not going to put them up there with the best rosters, but they're one good draft away from having an infinitely stacked roster with only a quarterback issue. And you could bring in one of those types to just kind of steer the ship, and just be productive enough to win you games, because their defense is fucking lights out. They got a ton of fucking studs. Quinnen Williams, who is the guy from the Bengals that I'm slipping on his name again.
Lawson.
Yeah, Carl.
Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawson, exactly. Yeah. So they have a pretty good team, and like is someone I'm gonna just own a take here. Probably if you don't follow me on Twitter, you don't know, but like I fucking love Zach Wilson coming out of BYU. I thought he was incredible. I thought also it was going to match up with the Bears. And I think that's kind of why I sold myself on him a little bit too, because I thought it was going to be 1-2 Lawrence and Fields. But either way, he has not fucking done anything of significance at this level. He's had a couple decent games, but for the most part, it's been all fucking bad. And to be honest, he acts like a little fucking bitch. Like that's what he seems like. He seems like the prep school kid that no one liked from fucking Greece, right? Like that's just kind of how he seems. And the banging moms thing made him fucking what I guess seen in a lighter light. Like,
dude, if he didn't have that banging moms thing, he would be so fucked in the public eye. Like, dude, everybody would be ripping him apart.
So much good pub, yeah, so much good pub, so many memes that were generated with like Zach Wilson being the GOAT, right? So, no, but I think Saleh made the right move, and I think you're right. That's a good call. Like saying Mike White was going to be elevated because you're right. Mike White has that Gardner Minshew type moxie to him where it's like, kind of a fucking wild card. Like we've seen him play and we've seen him ball. We've seen him ball in the NFL a lot more than we've seen Zach Wilson ball in the NFL. And he's younger and he gives you a little bit more top end than Flacco. So yeah, I think it does send a more long-term message. And I think I think Saleh handled it well. And I was super high on Saleh. That was like one of the guys I was pounding the fucking table for because I wanted Nagy to be gone. I just like his vibe. But yeah, I think he answered it 100% correctly, right? Like I think he left the door open, but was just kind of like, you can go fuck yourself. Like we're ready to win now. And and Zach Wilson could have avoided all of this if he just would have answered the question like a normal pro. Like, and you would think he has some form of PR training or some type of interview training that he's gone through. I'm sure the Jets have assigned him to it where you're just like, yeah, dude, I let my fucking team down. I played like shit. This cannot happen because I know this team, like this defense is keeping us in games and I have a ton of talent around me and I just got to fucking figure it out. Like I got to go back to the drawing board. But instead he just sounded like a cocky little prick. And that's what it is. Like, I'll take an L on that take. I really liked him coming out of college. I still think he's got enough talent. He seems kind of broken right now. So maybe a reset is what he needs. But at the end of the day, like the Jets made the right decision and they probably would be a Super Bowl contender with Justin Fields as their quarterback right now. Let's be honest.
Well, dude, and yeah, no, to that point, absolutely. Honestly, in a redraft, and I saw a lot of people talk about it. Like, very interesting tweet I saw earlier was
Fields won over Lawrence in a redraft.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Taking Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence in a redraft are the Jaguars a playoff team, and it's like it's hard to deny that. Plus, being able to play in the warm weather half the season, fucking hell, dude. Justin would be in goddamn heaven down there. Not that it matters. I love Justin Fields in Chicago. And I don't want to.
Well, he played in Ohio. He played in some cold games.
Well, yeah, I know that, but like, it's also nice to play in the heat. You know what I mean? Plus, he's Georgia kid. You know that
especially throwing. I mean, you talk about Soldier Field and the wind that comes through. Like, it's not an easy place to throw. That's probably part of the reason why Bears throwing statistics have been so bad because so many games were determined by the weather. Like, hey, we have to grind this out and just try to pop a couple screens. So,
yeah, no, that's why it's always been important for a Bears quarterback to have kind of a big arm because you need to be able to throw against that fucking wind. That's not going to be an issue within the next 10 years, maybe. I don't know, depending on how that all plays out. But yeah, man, I think I'm pretty sure I saw a report earlier today, and a lot of this has to do with New York media, so it's hard to tell. But I don't even think Zach Wilson's going to dress. I think he's going to actually be inactive, and they're going to have Flacco serve as a backup too. I think they're giving him a full fucking reset. So it seems like it might be a bit of a mental thing with Zach as well that maybe he has to work through. It's a hell of a time, man. It's a hell of a time. And if a guy like Mike White leads this team to a playoff fucking berth and plays well enough, like even if he's putting up Ryan Tannehill stats, they're not going back to Zach. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a lot of talk about potentially moving him in the offseason, maybe having him depending on what happens to the playoffs, having him compete for a job. Like, I don't want to get too ahead of it, but like, this is a big moment for a guy like Mike White. That's why I hate that it's going to be coming in this matchup because, You know, we see what a guy like Marcus Mariota did against our defense, even playing well. Like, I'm just not thrilled to see a fucking motivated guy playing for his fucking life, because that's essentially what Mike White's going to be doing on Sunday, dude. If he goes out there and he throws like 3-4 tutties, dude, Robert Saleh was almost ready to roll with him last year when he did that. You know what I mean? Now, after getting a little bit better of a taste of a guy like Zach Wilson, who, I think you made some good points there, Lucas, dealing with the New York media and not being able to do it. You know, I think it's not going to get any better. You know, I mean, a guy like Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls out there, and he still was getting destroyed in the fucking media every goddamn week.
And now he's like New York's favorite human being on the planet.
Yeah, well, you know,
there's so many videos of him at tailgates and shit, dude. I fucking love Eli Manning. He's one of the funniest people on the planet.
And it's funny because, like, dude, if we're talking about Eli, like, when he first started his career, I don't think I could have disliked him more because of how that whole Chargers thing played out. Because, you know what I mean? Like,
our generation's Elway, just like, you golden boy little bitch. What are you talking about? You're not going there.
Yeah, exactly. And it immediately made everybody like giant Phillip Rivers fans, because like everyone wanted to see him fucking go off because, you know, whatever. But I mean, dude, it's hard not to like Eli, like, to this day right now, because like even when he was getting fucking gashed in New York, he was a guy that once the playoffs hit, he was just, I don't know if there was a more fun quarterback to watch in the playoffs. Like, Eli would just go fucking nuts, man. It was uncanny. Like, even when the Giants lost, like, I always think of that Green Bay game where Odell was on the fucking boat. And I know I'm getting a little off topic here. I'll get back on here in a second. But I always think of that game where Odell went on the boat and played like shit. Dude, Eli gashed everybody on Green Bay that entire game. Just nobody else wanted to show up. But yeah, so like Zach Wilson just doesn't have that going for him right now, man. And if you're going to be kind of a weird guy, or you're going to have kind of like that golden boy kind of facade to you need to be able to back it up with wins. You need to be able to back it up with your locker room, you know?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers started losing this year, and Green Bay literally despises him at this point because he has that same, just, you're a cocksucker. It's no other way to describe it. Like, you're just a fucking prick.
Pompous California kid, man.
Yeah, exactly. And dude, it's kind of funny because like that picture of Zach Wilson in New York at the draft day where he just looks so out of place and like scared to be in the big city. It's just like, it is translating right now. I don't know. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you just got to go with your gut. I always knew that he was kind of a, you know, not the most likable human being, but I just thought he was uber talented. But yeah, no, he wouldn't have survived in Chicago. And you think about like with polls this year, if Zach Wilson was playing this way and getting benched, you would know for a fact he's being shipped. The only reason why is because it's the Jets and because they have a good team. And you would think if they drafted him that high, it's the same regime, right? Like if it was a different regime, he'd be fucking gone, bro. If it was the Cardinals, Steve Keim, he'd be fucking gone. He would have already been gone. So it's just like, hey man, figure your shit out. Otherwise you're going to be like, cause now he's starting to be looked at as like a Ryan Leaf, up there with epic fucking busts.
Man, and I mean, is that a good time to just bring up the fucking Ryan Leaf tweet? All right. Yeah. All right. So I got to read this in case anybody who's not on Twitter, man, Ryan Leaf, like this is legit. This ain't some fucking burner account or anything like that. He got into it with some Jets fans on Twitter because Jets fans weren't all about the whole, somebody called him the Mormon Ryan Leaf. And Ryan Leaf, of course, replied, he's like, I can't believe we picked the Mormon Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf's like, yes, you can. You're the Jets. It's what you do. This guy replies, Ryan, respectfully shut the fuck up. You're worse than a Mormon that can't throw a ball straight. Ryan Leaf comes in for the kill shot. I've had a better life than Jets fans the last decade, and I've spent 3 of those years in prison, respectfully, of course. Just unbelievable. You just got, like, you want to fucking make a Ryan Leaf joke? You just got killed by the biggest draft bust in NFL history. Like, there's just no other way to put it, man. Yeah, you know, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to feel bad for Zach Wilson when you're having a discussion like that. You feel bad for like the sense of his career, kind of similar to a Ryan Leaf, and I feel like that's why he's getting the comparison, because Ryan Leaf handled adversity just so badly. You know, like I always think of him getting into it with the reporter or whatever when he was asking him why he played so fucking bad and how cocky he was. You know, he had that notorious story of getting drafted and immediately going to Vegas type thing. Like I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to Vegas or anything like that, but it's just the optics of his entire situation don't look good right now. But anyway, we've sat here and we've shit on the Jets a little bit. And we've shit on their fucking offense, man. I think the thing that kind of scares me going into this game, just to kind of get a little on point, and you got to understand, guys, the Bears are bad. It's the holidays. There's only so much we can go with here. We kind of got to be Jagoffs a little bit just to keep the lights on. But dude, they have a legitimate defense. You brought up Carl Lawson. I mean, dude, they have Sheldon Rankins up front, Quinn and Williams. Those are two very legit defensive fucking linemen. John Franklin Myers is a guy who doesn't have a lot of name recognition, but a very good edge rusher. I know you brought up Carl Lawson, which very much deserved, but I really like John Franklin Myers. Quincy Williams at linebacker, he's been a pretty solid guy. Quan Alexander, he was a longtime Buffalo Bill, really fucking solid defender. CJ Mosley, maybe that's a name you might have heard of a couple years ago.
Resurgence, dude. He's having a resurgent year.
Yeah, he was the guy that got signed when Le'Veon Bell got signed, and he had a couple injury-prone years, but he is far and away the captain of that defense right now. I mean, and then you go to the secondary, you have Sauce Gardner, you have LaMarcus Joyner playing safety, Jordan Whitehead playing safety. Like, you have a lot of moving pieces playing very fucking well on that defense side of the football. In all honesty, like, this is the defense that's kept them at the record they're sitting at right now. The Jets are sitting at 6-4, and they haven't even played well at home, so they could be a lot better. They just have had an inability of scoring points. Like, we score more points a game than the New York Jets, and that's
100%. Yeah,
that's kind of staggering, if you don't kind of know the ins and outs of it. But somehow, some way, with this defense, like they are still scoring more points than they're allowing every game, and that's just a testament to how good they've been fucking playing through every aspect on defense, man. And I think a guy like Sauce Gardner, a guy who I think a lot of people were up in the air about when he got drafted, especially with how high he got drafted. I think anytime a corner gets drafted that high, expectations are insanely high. He's answered it tenfold, 100%. He looks like he's going to be that guy who is going to wreak havoc a little bit for wide receivers in the league for quite a while. I don't think there's any question to what he's doing. And he's someone who's kind of quieted down the hype of a guy like Jaquan Brisker, who's also having a great rookie season. But and as much as I hate to admit this, because I love Jaquan Brisker, I think he's going to be one of the best safeties in football one day. Sauce has been that good this year. And that's somebody that, if we do have a Trevor Siemian out there, fucking hell, man, it can get ugly pretty damn quick.
Well, yeah, but my thing between Sauce and Brisker is Sauce also had a lot more name recognition coming into the draft. He was supposed to be the first cornerback drafted, and they went with Stingley Jr., who's actually having an incredible season as well.
He got drafted by the right head coach into the right system as well, though. And
he was the third overall pick, and then I think Sauce was like 6 or 7, maybe. But even still, he's playing at a very high level. But I think he had a lot of name recognition coming in. Sauce is also a dope fucking name. Like, I mean, it's hard to dispute that. Like, it's a dope ass nickname. You remember that video of the dude explaining the difference between juice and sauce? How long does juice stay in your fridge versus sauce? like that's just, I don't know. Sauce is a sick fucking nickname. But I think like the one person that doesn't get talked about enough, and he's starting to, but he's gonna be a premier not edge rusher, but defensive end in a 4-3. Like, he's going to be one of those guys mentioned with Nick Bosa, and the Myles Garrett's of the world. And it's Quinn and Williams, man. And like, the Jets pulled a pretty big move by drafting him and trading Leonard Williams, because Leonard Williams they were the same type of prospect. Both were supposed to just be dominant. And I think they made the right decision by doing that. Right. They went with Quinn and Williams, and I know they're different positions, but it's kind of like how you're going to allocate your funding. So they drafted the new guy and shipped off Leonard Williams when they were going to have to pay him, right? And it's just kind of one of those things where, like, I think he's an unbelievable player, and just with Justin Fields' injury and the fact that you're probably not going to try to run him as much, so you're going to have more. Theoretically, you would have more max protect type situations. You would have more, in the pocket type passing, or roll, design screens, design short throws, RPOs, a lot of running, right? Like, that defensive line can get after you. And it's not like it's just one guy you got to worry about. Like you said, all four are legitimate players. Like, you can't, if you're going to double team Quinn and Williams and you're going to double team Carl Lawson, like, those two guys in the middle are going to be able to get after Justin Fields. And our interior is dog shit. So it's like, are you going to leave the two better edge rushers in the league right now? Are you going to leave them single blocked on the edge and have Braxton Jones and Riley Reef take care of them with a little help from Cole Kmet? Like, I don't know, man. It's just like I said before, you had your chance to develop Fields the right way and you didn't fucking do it. You ran the ball 20 times or 18 times against a dog shit pass defense in the Atlanta Falcons. And you know, it's one of those things where, like, listen, I love Justin Fields. I want to see him play every single week, but it doesn't make any sense for him to play. And if he does, I'm gonna have serious concerns with everyone from top to bottom, because unless it's an injury that was overblown entirely and it was just barely a nick. But like I said, he said in his press conference, he's got some tears. So, you know, there's different grades because I think a grade 1 is stretched ligaments, a grade 2 is like partially torn, and then a grade 3 is completely torn for your separated shoulder. And like, it's just one of those things where, like, dude, you could do some weird shit, like knock the fucking joint out of socket, and now it's a huge surgery. Like, God forbid something like that happens. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't make any fucking sense. The Bears are out of the place. You're in line for third. Your GM did everything in his fucking power to make sure this team lost this year. So why are you trotting him out there? As a GM, make the executive decision. Hey, you're going on IR. Go fuck yourself. Sorry, Justin. You'll be here next year when we have more players. That's the move you got to make.
Yeah, no, I kind of alluded to that earlier. Like, if I'm the GM, I'm the same way. Like, I'm like, Justin, you're good. Don't worry about it. Like, you're gonna be here next year. We're shutting you fucking down because we're thinking of the long-term capability of this roster. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I have Justin Fields on my fantasy team.
And, I don't know. Yeah, he's been carrying.
He's been fucking fantastic for me. He's been averaging me like 40 fucking points a game. I don't care. I will lose my fantasy team if it means the Bears having a franchise quarterback that stays healthy. And like, Justin's one of those guys that's kind of shown throughout his career so far, shown throughout his entire career, that if he's someone who's kind of looking like he's nursing something, it's probably not bullshit. It's probably one of those things where it's like, yeah, this guy's probably fucking hurt. You know what I mean?
His hammies were cramping up the drive before they tried to run him twice when you needed to go 80 yards.
Dude, like the last 3 weeks, every time you see him on the sidelines, he's fucking getting stretched out and he's sitting on his fucking tablet. And yeah, you know, that might look like, oh, he's having the time of his life on the sideline. Like, no, he's just trying to stay fucking loose, because if he gets tightened up, he's not going to be able to do as much shit. Because I guarantee you, like, the ice machines at Hallis Hall have been fucking run. Like, Justin Fields has been fucking emptying the shit out of those every single fucking week ever since they started this like run heavy team.
40 or something more attempts than the most attempts he's had in one college season, and it was like through 10 games. So,
dude, it's ridiculous. And like, that's
like, as cool as it is to see him as 5th or 6th in overall rushing yards, it's not cool. Like, it's not, because you know what that comes with.
Dude, it was cool when he got his cleats sent to fucking Canton. That's impossible to deny. It was cool when he broke Michael Vick's record. That's fucking awesome. At a certain point, you have to realize, and like, I went in a big fucking rant on this after the game, and I've tried to calm down from it a little bit because I was really fucking worked up. But like, at a certain point, you have to be like, listen, I know Justin can do this. Justin can move fucking mountains if I want him to. That doesn't mean I need him to go fucking move a mountain. You know what I mean? Like, it's a situation where you need to be able to kind of have better judgment of the risk and reward of situations. And that's just something that we've been having a lot of issues with, you know? Yes, there's a lot of fucking reward if Justin can run for 175 fucking yards a game. But does that outweigh the risk that comes with losing your franchise fucking quarterback when you have Trevor Siemian sitting on the bench? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, you know? I think you have to look at a guy like fucking RG3 when he was in Washington to start his career. Like, I think people forget how dynamite RG3 looked at from the start. You know what I mean? Like, he looked like a guy that was like generational. He was going to change the quarterback.
He won MVP that year, but they just gave him Rookie of the Year.
And you want to know where Washington fucked up? They put a saddle on him and they fucking rode him until he broke. That's what happened. They got to the point where even in a playoff game where it's very obvious up to this point, A, you're probably not going to win this game. B, RG3 is a generational fucking talent. And C, you're Mike Shanahan and you should fucking know better. They put a brace on his knee and they sent him back out there and they ruined his fucking career, man. And like, that is not the type of thing that, yes, if Washington fans will tell you, like that 1 year of RG3, it was dynamite. That was probably one of their favorite fucking seasons of
was
football
electric
they've
as
had.
fuck, bro.
It was.
That was awesome.
It was a fucking dude. It was a ride. Even not being a Washington fan,
Like for you, the younger fans listening, like the way, okay, Mahomes definitely burst onto the scene better than anyone, but that was his second year technically. Like Herbert, like the way he kind of came on as a rookie, like imagine that times 10 because RG3 was fucking electric his rookie year.
Dude, he couldn't be stopped. It was to the point where it's like if he stopped his running, he was going to kill you downfield. If you stopped his passing, he was going to kill you running. Like there was no way to stop him. You know what I mean? And then you had a guy like what the hell was his name? Alfred Morris in the backfield who ran for 1,400 yards in his own respect, like running the RPO. That was kind of when the RPO was starting to get really popular in the NFL. Like, dude, it was unfair. It was genuinely unfair. And, you know, you could look at the record that season. I think Washington might have finished like 9-7 or something like that. All 9 of those wins were because of him. Like 100%. it was crazy. And like, yes, that's awesome. But I guarantee you, if you pulled those Washington fans, I guarantee you, if you put PFT on the spot and asked him if you would have preferred that, okay, maybe you cut those rushing numbers in half for RG3 and maybe just kind of try to keep him a little bit healthier. Maybe if he starts to get a little bit injured in that playoff game, you pull him. And you obviously, hindsight's 2020. I guarantee you, every single one of them is saying yes. They're sacrificing the Kirk Cousin years because they know they have a potential fucking superstar.
Dude, and this is a playoff game. We're talking about a team in a playoff game with a chance to win a Super Bowl. Like, now shift that to Justin Fields, and it's different because it's not a knee. I get it, but shift that to Justin Fields and the Bears being 3-100. Like, what are we talking about here, right? Like, it's different if you're in a play, and I understood it for the Detroit game or whatever. But then after that Detroit loss, I'm like, okay, let's tone it back. Like, it's pretty clearly starting to weigh on him, right? And to me, listen, Justin Fields is an electric athlete. You need to use that, and it's a lot different when he scrambles for a 65-yard touchdown, right? Untouched, or he scrambles and gets out of bounds. And that's where his rushing attempts are coming from, opposed to him being a center point of moving the ball in between the 20s. You use his legs in the red zone when it's time to score. You use his legs when it's 3rd and 1 and it's a huge fucking drive at a critical point in the game, right? Like, listen, 7 attempts is cool. 7, sometimes 10, because he's scrambling. That's fine. 10 to 12 designed fucking runs, in a lot of them being in between the 20s, is ludicrous. That's not how you treat a fucking franchise quarterback. And dude, it comes back down to Flus. I think that's a Flus. I think that's an Eberflus influence. I think he's getting fucking tired of being on this losing streak, and he's like, we are going to win this game. And he was willing to ride him down to the fucking ground for a win, dude. It's what I believe, and it's coming from someone who loves Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, no, it's going to be something to keep an eye on. But like, my perfect usage of a guy like Justin Fields, let him start a game 8 for 8. Like, let him gash a team through the fucking air. Get him set up with a fucking good scripted playbook where, like, you just can't stop him through the air. And then the second they have to put extra defensive backs on the field to protect that, that's when he gets that 30-yard fucking run. Like, I think of the way that Dallas developed fucking Dak Prescott. Dak was a guy who was kind of a similar fucking prospect coming out of college. He would have been a first-round pick had he not gotten arrested during the pre-draft prospect. He was a guy with a big arm. He was a guy.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
I would. He was high on a lot of boards. The biggest reason he fell was because he got arrested. But regardless, big arm, mobile guy who could do a little bit of a dual threat type setup, man. And early on in his career, yeah, dude, they used that quite a bit. But they also used his arm to set up those runs to the point where he wasn't having to run 10, 15 times a game to get 100 yards.
Well, and Zeke was doing your dirty work. Justin Fields should not be doing your dirty work.
Dude, you have Dave Montgomery and Khalil Herbert in the backfield. There's no reason Justin Fields should be doing your dirty work. You should not be running him 18 times a game to get fucking 6-7 yards per carry. You know what I mean? It's disgusting, dude. There's no reason.
Times where I'm like, Fields, like throughout the game, I'm like, Fields has more attempts than both the running backs combined. And one thing that I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen yet, and I would like to fucking see, is Justin Fields has had a ton of success with almost like I don't want to fuck this up, but It's almost like a QB zone or a QB power, like an outside zone where he's running and cutting it up the field and scoring touchdowns. He's done it like fucking 3 or 4 games in a row. It's the first touchdown he scored in the last game. Like, how have we not broken something off of that by now, right? Like a flip pass to a fucking wide receiver or a flip pass to the tight end. Like, how have we not like I like seeing it, right? And I'm fine with you using it on the goal line. But again, it's just, dude, it's negligence. It's extreme negligence. They don't do that with Josh Allen. And honestly, you don't see it nearly as much with Lamar either. His first year or two, maybe you'd see it with Lamar, but Lamar is really not running the ball like that in between the 20s. He's really starting to be conscious of that. So, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, even guys like Josh Allen are going to have a shorter shelf life because any quarterback where they're the centerpiece of all production, where they are, responsible for 85% of the fucking yards or 80% of the yards being being totaled by the offense with that much usage, they're going to have a shorter shelf life. And it's like cool because he's young now and he's able to bounce back in a week. But dude, even like 28, 29 years old, you're going to start feeling it, dude. And for the younger people out there, you think you're invincible, bro. I'm telling you, that's when it starts to happen. 28, 29. I know I'm not in my prime. I'm not an athlete, but that's when I started being like, fuck, everything fucking hurts when I wake up. Just from, whatever I was doing in the past, sports, all that shit. So, dude, it's not an easy fucking, dude, just use his legs when it's necessary, not as the centerpiece of your offense.
Yes. And I think to your point, like you need to be able to develop his passing game every single year, because once you get to those points where he's not able to run that often, it's going to be him depending on his arm. You know what I mean? And that's where that's why right now you should be turning the raw talent in his arm to polish. You know what I mean? You should be polishing that. You should be honing that in. You should be getting him comfortable with every single fucking route that he's throwing. You know what I mean? And I think he has enough confidence that he can make he can try to attempt to make those throws anytime he wants. You know what I mean? It's all about timing that up, getting that fucking in, and just practice, dude. I know everyone can make the practice mean all they fucking want, but dude, repetition, being able to throw the same fucking route 500 times in your life before you get to the point where you can't really run all that much anymore, it pays dividends. You know what I mean? You see you see guys who are mobile early on in their careers who have like made their shelf life even fucking longer because of how their arm has,
dude,
aged,
Mike Vick with the Eagles is a perfect example.
Like, yeah, dude, he was electric. He could still run, but his arm had more polish than we ever saw in Atlanta.
Oh,
you know
he
what I mean?
threw the ball a ton with the Eagles for it was like maybe it wasn't even a full 2 years, but it was a nice little stay. And it's like, you don't want Justin Fields to have a learning curve when his legs start hurting or whatever, right? Like when he's not able to run the ball as much. You don't want him to have a learning curve while he's on his fucking max fucking contract, right? Like you want to work that shit out. So by the time like you pay him, he's able to hurt you in a lot of different ways. And he is. And that's the thing that's annoying. And they fucked it up, in my opinion. They fucked it up. They fucked a lot of things up this year, and we're going to talk about it in our offseason, but I think we're going to just kind of be slamming our shit in desk drawers for the rest of this episode if we don't move past this.
Yeah, no, I mean, fucking honestly, let's do bold prediction, score prediction. Let's call her a day. It is the Thanksgiving episode. I still have some fucking Thanksgiving shopping I gotta do yet, even, and I gotta start boiling the apple pie. So give me a bold prediction if you got one, Lucas.
Bold prediction is that fuck, that's hard. It's almost got to be defensive, right? Because like Justin Fields is the whole offense. I'm gonna go. No, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go ahead and say Velus Jones returns a kickoff for a touchdown.
Ooh, I like that because we didn't even talk about Velus.
He had a great
good return.
One thing too, highlight reel catch for Cole Kmet. Like, that's not just a Bears highlight. That's an NFL ESPN top 10 highlight for the rest of the fucking year. You're gonna see that in their reel. That thing,
dude, that was like a Justin Jefferson hold my beer moment, essentially, because the fucking catches were weirdly similar. I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson probably had the catch of the year, but Kmet basically tried to recreate that in the best way he could, man. It was impressive.
Just stuck his paw out there and he fucking, dude, he's adjusted, and it was not a good throw by Fields. Like, don't get me wrong, it was in the area, but that was 100% Kmet. Like,
yeah, it was airmailed 100%, and Kmet went and made a play.
Went up, adjusted midair, plucked it out the sky while getting hit. No fucking problem.
Yeah, no, dude, Cole Kmet's a dog, and I'm glad people are starting to fucking see that. My bold prediction is Jaquan Brisker gets a pick six.
Oof. Okay.
I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say Mike White probably has a pretty good game against us, but I'm gonna say he's maybe gets a little bit ahead of himself, and a guy like Jaquan Brisker makes him fucking eat it, and we get the first house call of Jaquan Brisker's career. I'll even it'll be in the third quarter.
Oh my
I'll
God.
even fucking call my shot. If it happens, Lucas, don't choke on your fucking wishbone.
What's the score going to be? Well, who makes it? They're going to be up or down at that point.
That'll bring us back up.
Okay.
I think even
that
if
won't
fucking
come on the record. It's just the third quarter. That's what we'll stop it. But I just want to know.
Yeah.
how good you can get.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be third quarter. I think it'll. I don't even know when drive will be, but I think White has a good first half. I think he definitely gets some fucking. He gives us the business quite a bit, and this is with Brisker sitting out concussion right now, so I don't even know if he's going to play. But I think if he does, I think he sees Sauce Gardner on the other side of the field. I think he sees a guy that's getting a lot more recognition than him, and I think if he sees a ball in the air that just hovers a little bit too much, he's going to go fucking grab it and go.
Okay.
What do you got for score prediction, Lucas?
Jets 27, Bears 13.
Oof.
I mean, if it's Trevor Siemian starting, dude, what the fuck are we doing here? I'm not going to predict the Bears to just go. We're going to learn how dependent this Bears offense has been on Justin Fields if Trevor Siemian starts. Now, if Justin Fields starts and he's 100% healthy, Jets still win, but I'll give it like 17-24.
I don't think Fields is going to be 100% healthy for the rest of the season. You talk about tears in your shoulders. And I think it's not being talked about, but I think there's something going on with his knee too. I'm hoping it's nothing too serious, but I don't know. I think it was kind of hard to miss.
Hammy.
I think there's something going on there, but whatever. I don't want to fucking curse anybody or any of that shit. I'm going to say, because I always got to pick the Bears to win, even if I'm not totally agreeing with it. I'll go 2017. Hopefully, I think Mike White has a good game against us. Hopefully they don't set the world on fire. Hopefully they get a little bit pass happy so they don't run the ball a ton against us, because that's probably where they'd be able to gash us if they decided to just fucking run with the three-headed monster they essentially have in the backfield.
I will say, dude, with what was it, Matt Adams back and fucking Sanborn, like you got thumpers at linebacker now. You can tell in the running game. I
don't know, man. I still seen Mike Pennell just fucking far too much in my life already.
Yeah, but I'm saying the linebacking core has been a lot better against the running game in general. What did the what's it called run for?
Mariota?
At all. Yeah. No, just the Falcons.
Oh, fuck. All right.
What did they run?
I know Mariota actually had a pretty good rushing game against us. So
Algier had 55, Cordell had 52.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Mariota touchdown. Yeah, so they had 33 for 149 a touch. That's still not great.
Algier played pretty well, actually.
Yeah, they weren't feeding him that much. And Patterson, honestly, he was gashing us on that one drive before he fumbled.
Yeah, they ran for like $145 on us. So, yeah, I guess I'm wrong.
I mean, it was improved to compare to what we were seeing. I think with how the Jets have their backfield set up, even without Breece Hall and trading for James Robinson, they're going to have fresh legs back there every fucking play. So,
yeah, no, they should be out of us. Let's be real here. That team's a lot better. Like where we didn't see it nearly as much with the Lions, who was kind of in a similar position to them, or with the Falcons, some of these other teams, Washington, like they actually have a stacked fucking roster.
Well, I will say, like, if we do things correctly in the next year, we can be similar to what the Jets are right now. It's going to take a little bit of fucking maneuvering, and it's going to take us hitting on some draft picks and spending some money, but we can get there. Whether or not Ryan Poles does, that's entirely another.
Well, we can get there because Fields too. You don't need to do nearly as much in terms of having to have a super high hit rate and stuff like that. But there's just so many holes on defense that, and you want to make Fields more comfortable and build around him. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's hard. What are you going to pick? I don't know, but I do think Fields is the only reason why the Bears fans should have hope of any type of wild card berth next year, because there's like, we're talking about, I mean, how many guys did we mention for them, right? Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Lawson. Like, we're talking, like, that's 4 more guys than we got already, so I do think we're kind of farther away, like LaMarcus Joyner and some guys like that, not necessarily the hugest names, solid pieces, but their cornerstone pieces are there. We don't have those cornerstone pieces. So
Yeah,
I
not
think
quite.
Fields can elevate that if you just get the cornerstone guys and whatever, right? Like, you just get those cornerstone guys, then I think we can makeshift a better run because of where the Jets are at quarterback and where the division is at. But overall, they're not fixing all of their fucking problems in one offseason. That's a conversation though.
I do think, I mean, this is going to be a conversation for the post or the fucking off season one, but I do think getting some vet pieces on defense in some of these spots that are actually worth a damn, like I always go back to fucking Xavier Rhodes with fucking Eberflus in Indianapolis about how it basically just completely resurrected his career.
Yeah.
I think something like that in the secondary would go a long way. I think Eddie's playing a good fucking role of that, but I don't know. This is a discussion for later, but I mean, Vildor's played well, but having a more stable presence on the outside would be nice. And obviously, you want to have some fucking beef up front.
Even Jalen Johnson's having some growing pains,
Yeah, that's going to be something
he's a little bit
going
more
in the
hurt.
off season.
Yeah, I think he's more hurt than we know. I think he's been dealing with shit because he did insane.
I definitely don't think he's flat out bad. I would just say the situation in the offseason where there was kind of a discussion of him buying into hits just doesn't look good right now because of how he's playing. But again, that's a conversation for the offseason. You got anything else to close out here?
No, I got nothing.
Right.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, so we are going to be rolling out at least one podcast a week for sure moving forward. Obviously, like it gets a little bit difficult to talk about this team. A, because me and Lucas just fucking love the Chicago Bears, and it's very fucking brutal to watch the way they play right now and how they're built. And B, it gets to the point where it's hard to talk about. Like
it's just repetitive too, right?
Yeah. Like going through the motions is one thing. Yeah, I mean, going through the motions is one thing just to kind of break down the box score and all that stuff. Like, you can read that shit on ESPN, but like to add actual like juice to what we're talking about, it gets a little bit more difficult when this team's playing the way it's playing right now.
Well, sure. And you want to add value throughout the episode instead of making 2 bullshit episodes. And I feel like a lot of the time it gets to the point where, like, okay, well, we know what the problems are and they're not going to be fixed right now. So are we just going to keep fucking hammering the same shit? No, it's not worth it. At least, like this episode today, we had some inspired quotes, some fucking injury stuff, right? Like a more discussion centered around things opposed to, hey, we're going to break down this game because the games are bad. And I don't think you guys want to hear that for fucking 45 minutes twice a week.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, I'll always get up for a Bears game. It does not matter how bad we are. Like I remember getting hyped up watching fucking Nick Foles beat the Seahawks last year. You know what I mean? Like I'm always up for that stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's the greatest thing in the world right now. But yeah, anyway, so that's going to kind of be the plan moving forward. Probably shooting for Wednesdays, but we'll keep in touch. We will keep you updated on the Barely There Twitter page. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at Barely There Pod. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Maybe we'll toss out some fucking extra content over there if we're feeling a little up to it. But yeah, be sure to subscribe over there. Join the conversation. John McGlynn, thanks for joining the chat today. I thought you made a pretty good point with the Bears where they currently stand right now. I'm Duke Coughlin. You can follow me at that pod guy Duke. As always, I'm joined by the Ayatollah of Turkatola, Lucas Perfetti. You can follow him at Lucas Perfetti 46. Have a happy Thanksgiving. This is the first Thanksgiving without John Madden. So if you are watching the live stream, you might notice John Madden enjoying himself a turducken in the background. Big John Madden guy growing up. It's just feels like a little something's going to be missing from the broadcast tomorrow. Can't wait to see all the tributes because it's very well deserved. One of the greatest commentators of all time. But anyway, enjoy the time off. Enjoy family. Enjoy turkey. Again, if you don't like dry turkey, don't cook dry turkey. Like, be a better cook. It's a you problem. It's not a turkey problem. because white meat with some gravy on top of it and some mashed potatoes is some of the greatest shit in the world.
I don't understand how people don't like it. It's fucking incredible.
Dude, it's white meat, gravy, pinch of salt, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, nothing tops that. Like, I'll eat a steak and I'll
just cut it all up. So I'll cut up my turkey. I'll throw it in with the mashed potatoes. I'll throw fucking beans in there. I'll throw just get real disgusting, like filthy about it. I'll throw the stuffing in there. I'll top it with gravy, and then I'll just fucking mix it up into just sludge, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I don't understand how people hate it. Like, if you like ham, that's fine. Enjoy the ham tomorrow, but don't talk shit about turkey. But yeah, anyway, me and this guy could talk about food for another hour, so we're gonna cut it off there. This has been barely there
right now. Knock on wood.
What's up?
Bulls are beating the Bucks by 4 right now in the third quarter with Giannis and Drew Holiday. Pretty wild.
Ooh, I'm gonna knock on wood on that. But this has been barely there, and bear down.
Bear down.